Are you trying to figure out how to get things done? Are you trying to look for knowledge that can actually help you do something, be better at what you do? Hi, I'm Joyce Mbaya, founder of ZD, where we provide affordable online courses for Africa. This is the place for you, the ZD podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with amazing people. And the ultimate goal is to help you know more so you can do more.
Welcome to the No More podcast. It has been a while since I've been here. I am your host today, and I'm Rhoda Kingori, co-founder and COO of ZD. If you're just joining us, the No More podcast is a podcast where we bring our experts, people we work with, engage with in this world of workforce upskilling, knowledge, training, and just gain insights on business, key business area, key business skills, career skills, growth, skills to help you excel and be the best at what you do. So in today's episode, we are in partnership with Experix Africa, who are a dynamic boutique customer experience agency located in Nairobi, Kenya. Their drive lies in providing services for curated customer experiences for businesses, enabling them to thrive in the ever-changing customer landscape. So this is a partnership made in heaven, because one of the biggest areas of training for businesses who engage on the ZD digital training solution is customer experience. And in partnership with Experix, we have as our guest for the day, Rosebella. Rosebella is NPS certified and a customer journey architect, currently pursuing her MBA at USIU. She's recognized by mycustomer.com as among the top 5 global customer experience leaders in 2021 and is the ROAM Rome Africa Wowza Award winner 2020. If you're in the CX world, you know that's a big deal, right? She is passionate about customer experience, and she was doing customer experience before she knew what it was, and it has propelled her career to where she is now, global head of customer experience and above, and all the different initiatives that she has, because she understands that customer experience can make or break your business. It can make or break your career. So with that said, let's get started.
I'm so excited to have the conversation, to be doing the podcast. It's been a while since I've headed hosted the No More Do More podcast, and I'm so excited. Drum rolls to have Bella on. Bella is a guru of all gurus. In fact, I will let her do her introductions. So we start with Bella. She's Rosebella, but call her Bella. So Bella, tell us, who are you? Yeah.
All right. Bella is a customer experience professional, a mother of 2 wonderful children, and an avid reader, somebody who is constantly learning new things and on the lookout to learn from different people and different avenues. I'm currently involved in a leadership program within the organization where I work, which is NG Energy Access. It's a 1-year program on impactful leadership. And I think that this opportunity came my way because I've always looked out for something new that I can add to my skill set, something that gives me an avenue to not only receive value, but to give value as well.
Fantastic. Oh, such deep answers. I always like hearing what people say about who they are. And you're so many things rolled into one. So at NG Access, so Bella is, and I'm sure you've already had the introduction, she is the global, if I say it wrong, Bella, correct me, global head of customer experience. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the role that I hold at NG Energy Access. I've been in the role for a little under 1 year now, and the opportunity to serve 1.9 million customers across 9 African markets alongside the country heads of customer experience is quite an interesting path that I am on right now. So sitting in this role, I'm able to not only inform on best practice and have standard operating procedures in place, but also it enables me to learn from the different cultures and pick from the country nuances and tweak solutions that match our customers' behavior and our customers' requirements in those 9 markets, working very well with our teams that are in China and Europe as well, in order to research and develop products that match the African off-grid customer.
Wow. So my question is, I don't think I've ever had somebody say, when I grow up, I want to be head of customer experience, right? So how did you find yourself in this role? And tell us about your journey, right? And your journey with customer experience before you even knew that's what it is that you were doing and you were called to do. Yeah, and how it got you to this place. And then we'll move on to just, I think the world, African businesses, individuals think there's a deep need to understand customer experience better and how powerful it can be.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rhoda, for that. So I was practicing customer experience in its core tenets before I knew that I was. So I started out my career in sales. I took up a role in one of the top tier banks in Kenya. I lasted in that role for about a year, and most of the customers that I interacted with during that time when the bank was transitioning from being a fully corporate bank and venturing into personal banking are customers that I still keep in touch with to date. So it's been more than 10 years. Some of them still reach out and say hi. And some of them, when they're having issues with that bank, because I still bank there and they still bank there, which is to tell you that that bank creates excellent relationships. Mm-hmm. So when they reach out to me with specific issues, one of their opening lines is always, I know you don't work there anymore, but I also know that you're going to sort me out. So if it is related to the bank, I will reach out. And there are a few people at that bank who will pick my call and say, if it's Bella calling, we need to find out what's going on. If it's something we can do for her or any other of her connections, we would be willing to do that as soon as possible. So that is now in hindsight. It's me looking backwards and saying, if I was able to create memorable experiences for those customers, and at the time, what I was doing was positioning a banking solution to them for their individual banking and for their family and their friends and their colleagues. What then about that experience makes them still reach out to me? And when I started answering those questions, which is about 5 years back, is when I found the answer in the definitions of customer experience. So 5 years ago, I was working for a company that has an integrated customer experience tool that is hinged on capturing customer feedback and driving organizations to action that feedback for excellent business outcomes. At the time, I had the opportunity to train in Net Promoter Score, which is one of the key customer experience metrics. And then I obtained that certification. While I was working for that organization, many of the unanswered questions around my career came full circle. And that's when I understood that what I have been doing and practicing throughout my sales career was and is customer experience. And from then on is when I ventured into that as a career. And I made intentional steps to acquire more certifications and to enroll myself for programs that exposed me to this practice. So then I became a full-fledged head of operations and customer experience at Brighter Monday, just during the COVID period. Wow. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm hungry for growth and for learning. So I am constantly looking out for that opportunity to give and receive value. And so that has been my journey in CX. When you say, do companies know about customer experience and what sort of pillars hold up the practice of customer experience? I would say yes, and I would say no at the very same time. Just like I had to come into a realization that I was practicing customer experience, I think companies also have created or have goals and objectives that are focused on the customer. They have values pinned on a wall that say customer obsessed, customer focused, customer first. Yes. So they want to be, and to some extent they think that they are customer first, customer focused, and all those things customer. So the realization of exactly what customer experience is and how we can see the common thread that flows through the practice of CX to revenue, to cost savings, to increased referrals is something that some companies have not yet established.
Yeah. So before we jump into the pillars, the part of your story, right? When you say there were things that you were doing that 10 years later, those customers still call you. And when I was hearing this story for the first time, I was just like, you were really doing this before even banks started doing this. I think banks started doing this form of more personalized touch years, think maybe like 5 years ago, honestly. So what were some of those things, just so that guys can have like a tangible example of things that you were doing intentionally and just taking an extra step to do that in your sales process that really has these guys continuously calling you 10 years later and that relationship that you built with them?
Yeah, when I think about it, I approached one of the business development managers in the bank who was in charge of a certain portfolio of customers. And because those organizations had a program with the bank where full-time employees were entitled to better rates for their personal loans and, better, well-tailored experiences for the different banking products. When I approached him, I said to him, please give me one contact person in organization A. And he said, do you mean just one person? And I said, one person is all I need. I still remember that conversation. And so he gave me more than one person. I think maybe thankfully because of the initiative I'd taken. I reached out to those people and I said to them, Peter gave me your number and I would like to meet you and discuss with you the kind of programs that the bank has and the schemes that the bank has for you. And one particular one who accorded me a meeting, an in-person meeting, happened to be the sister of one of the famous entertainers in Kenya. I didn't know this. And when I was interacting with her, I because I did not know she was the sister of a prominent entertainer, I didn't make a big deal out of it. And for her, that was important. That I did not clout chase or, I did not want to leverage her fame or her family's fame in that interaction. But then as we kept talking, we spoke more about her personal goals and where she saw herself in a couple of years. And the conversation was very natural. By the time she said, hey, do you have the forms here with you? And I was like, yeah, you don't have to go through the lengthy process of filling every part of the form. This part and this part and this part are the most important. So I made it super easy to have a conversation, to meet, first of all, in person, because I went to her office. Number 2, to have that conversation. Number 3, because we know, you and I both know, Rhoda, I mean, anytime you want to engage an organization and they give you pages of forms to fill, it's not an exciting process. The best thing you can do for a customer is make that look simpler or shorter. Even
Yes.
though it's not necessarily simpler or shorter, you just need to make them feel that way.
Yeah.
And because most of the details that go into one form would need to go into other forms, they only need to fill one. And then you would fill all the others and present those only for their signature. So you make the process easier and better. 10 years down the line, what that is right now is you automate that process. Like you just pass through a customer's documentation and have those fields filled directly into into a document. But then I was doing it as a human then. So she really appreciated that interaction. And I openly said to her, do you have colleagues and friends and family whom you would like to join this program? And I remember she said to me, you know what, let's see what it's like. So then I'm able to tell them about it in context. And I said, oh, okay. And I walked away. And maybe some salespeople are going to say, oh, Bella, you left money on the table. You should have pushed. But sometimes it's not really about pushing the customer because of what you want as a salesperson. It's about retaining that customer. And so in about a month, she had told most of her colleagues. Like, all I needed to do was to reply to my WhatsApp messages and my text messages. Down the line, that's all I had to do. And looking at my targets, because then that was a sales role, I hit my targets media, like my annual targets. I hit them media. And it was because of referral business. Can I tell you, I did not get to meet most of those referrals in person. So what would happen is I would send the forms to the organization, and then those forms would be filled and I'd have to bring them back or ask someone to bring them back. Or those forms would be dropped at the bank branch in an envelope with my name on it.
Wow.
And that is what it took to just make sure that I got my sales in. When I think about the next organization that I worked in, I tell this story so often to salespeople and people in business development that 4 months into that role, I used to get phone calls from my customers when I was out visiting other customers, and they would say to me, hey, Bella, please acknowledge the LPO. Like, we've already decided that we are making a repeat purchase. The procurement team is already aligned. Please acknowledge receipt of the LPO and that you will start to process our order. And so these phone calls used to get me on my way to visit other customers.
Wow.
And I developed a pipeline around the first 2 weeks of the month. I would close on my target. So the next half of the month was focused on building a continued pipeline for the months to come.
Oh, wow.
And building on that consistency, ensuring that you visited your customers, you sent that very timely email, you sent that thank you text message to the marketing manager, the procurement person, because now you already have their phone number, letting them know when you're running late, letting them know when you might pass by earlier, dropping for them a token or a gift and personalizing it because you notice they arrange their desk a certain way.
Wow.
So those interactions, being very keen and very open to what will really make a difference and what ensures that these people have you top of mind, right? And I remember one of my prime customers then, I'll actually give you a story of 2 prime customers when I was now working for a branding company. One of those organizations was a dormant customer. They hadn't purchased from that organization for over 3 years. And when I said I'd visit them to understand why, there wasn't any particular encouragement from my sales team. It's like, hey, you're going to go knock on a door that's not going to open. And when I was there, I insisted to speak to more than one person. Turns out the marketing manager had been in the role for a while and still remembered the very bad experience more than 3 years ago. And she narrated it vividly. The best I could do was listen, because I wasn't in that organization at the time. And not only did I listen to her, I listened to her team. I listened to everyone who had been impacted by the kind of service they had received. And I think what most of us need to understand is when you relate to someone in an organization, you have to know that they trust you enough to give you an order or a certain transaction. They're also putting in their reputation as well as how their colleagues will perceive them, not just during that time, but in their future. So it's very important to listen for the unsaid. What that person is trying to say to you is they trust you and they're giving you the opportunity to serve the organization, which means that their credibility and their reputation is pegged on that trust. And the more I listened to her and the team, what I heard was, we trusted your organization to deliver this for us, and you guys did not come through according to the laid expectations. And so I offered to make it up to her and the team 3 years later. And I did. I went back to my organization and I said, if you guys want the company back, we've got to redo something. We've got to build the trust again. And so that's what we did with a sample, just a sample of some items. And you know what? They gave us another chance and we did a pre-qualification. And after the pre-qualification, we were back in. The orders were pretty small because, again, we were building the trust. But in a couple of months, we got an order that served all their staff across the country. And, something that came to a billable 1 million Kenya shillings in an order. The second organization was one that is in an industry that company had not dealt with. And so during my interview, I had said to them, if they hire me, I would bring in the companies that fall in that vertical. And immediately I came in, I started to shortlist like the top 100 companies that fall in that vertical. And guess what? This company that I'm about to tell you about was the number one at the time in the country. I walked into the group marketing manager's office on a day when he was from a bad meeting.
Wow.
And the first thing he said to me is, who are you and why are you here?
Wow.
And we ended up having such an interesting conversation. He asked me to come back another time and another time. And then again, the story is told. First order from this vertical of companies, the number one company in Kenya under that vertical, an order of 1 million Kenya shilling.
Ooh.
And even when the LPO was coming through in my organization, everyone's heads had begun to turn, So, Bella, what are you telling these people? Or what are you doing to these people?
What are you doing?
What sort of magic are you using on these people? And just then I learned that if you are going to be valuable to someone, you must listen more than you speak as a salesperson. Number two, you must listen for the unsaid. Watch out for their body language and what's truly important to them. And then build a relationship. It's not about that sale and you go away. It's also about the follow-up conversations and making sure that you're always engaging them, whether you have an order on the table or not. And that's what it has been. I'm still in contact. As I tell you these stories, I'm still in contact with those two key people from the two organizations that I'm telling you about.
Wow.
I still am, and I'm no longer in those industries. I'm not doing any branding work, and I'm not directly in banking, selling those products. Yeah.
Wow. So that's the element of you are creating such a wonderful experience that it was so different because nobody was even, people don't do that. Like salespeople sometimes, and they're just selling. And they're not really thinking about experience, and people assuming that experience, or actually they assume that it's just customer service, but you were doing experience, which was elevating everything that you are doing, building loyal relationships that have surpassed like a decade. So when you were talking about the foundation, and I love the way you were saying businesses have it customer first, customer is king, customer everything. And they want to create an experience, but they don't understand what that experience is and what those pillars are. And also just interchanging, everyone is just customer service. So for listeners who are out there who are like, hey, customer service, customer experience, what is the difference between customer service and customer experience, and what are those key pillars so that they know where to start, basically? Yeah.
So customer service happens when a customer interacts with a business directly through a channel such as voice or text. And most of the time they are making an inquiry, or they want to confirm something from the organization. They have approached the organization directly, and someone commonly known as a customer service agent or a customer service representative is then answering to that call. They're answering to the customer's queries, and preferably with a smile, and making sure that they give that customer the best experience. And that is customer service. Serving the customer directly. Most of the time, that initiation is by the customer themselves. And so the organization is in response to what the customer has inquired or needs from them. Customer experience, on the other hand, is everything a customer interacts, touches, listens to, sees, tastes, smells. It's sensory, it is emotional, it is rational. And all of those things have to do with a particular brand. And so for the very first time when you find out about a brand, sometimes it's because you've listened to an advert on your Spotify playlist, or your family member or friend has sent you a recommendation or a review, or you've complimented someone for something in their possession, and you've asked them, where did you get your hair done? Where did you buy those earrings? And then they will say to you, I bought them from, or I always get my hair done at. And most of the time, if they are promoters, if they are enthusiastic about those brands, they will not only tell you the name of that brand, but they'll give you a little bit more information. And they'll say to you, their prices are affordable. They will send you the delivery same day. Oh, and wow. The rider will find you where you're at, and they will not call you if you don't want to be called. They'll text you. Or their delivery is absolutely free. They literally go on and on about their experience. They tell you about how they found out about them. They will tell you about the purchase they went through. They'll tell you about the after purchase, the delivery, and all of those elements are customer experience. Sometimes you don't even have to have made a purchase decision. For example, how many times have you used a certain route and always seen a particular billboard? So my son, along Gong Road where I live, there's 2 billboards that he will always spot when we ride past them. And the first thing he says is, Mommy, I always see that on TV. And he sees them as advertisements because I do not subscribe to us watching those channels or those programs. But he can recognize them. And they give him a memorable experience because he saw them, he felt a type of way. And so when he sees the billboard, he must tell you again that he has seen the billboard. Is he a consumer? Not really. But there's something about that advertisement on TV and then seeing it later on a billboard that evokes his promotion for that program. So customer experience is everything sensory, emotional, rational that a customer will go through as they interact with your brand all through their journey.
So it's not a moment. It's not a moment in time. It's everything around that. It's how do I feel when I see you, when I hear you, when I engage after I have purchased across the whole touch point, which is why there's that saying that every single person in your organization is responsible for customer experience. It's not just a customer experience agent, because each touch point that anybody interacts with will leave some sort of emotion, right? And experience is making sure that that's a good emotion around it.
That's exactly it. And you will see in organizations that have matured in the practice of customer experience, you will hear the customer experience team work in collaboration with other functions in the business. For example, before a marketing campaign is launched, you will have brainstorm sessions where the marketing team requires customer insights and customer feedback. And this is feedback that's verbatim from surveys or even from the call center team. So they will ask them questions such as, what do customers want from us of late? What do you keep hearing more and more of on your calls with customers? We find that our customers are unhappy, and these are the reasons why they are unhappy. And so they start to tailor their campaigns to match the customer's changing needs and preferences. That's a successful customer-first, customer-focused organization. You will see or you will hear the sales team come back from meetings with customers and go straight on to the customer experience team and say, my customer told me 1, 2, and 3 about us. What do you think we can start to do? Or what do you think we can stop doing as an organization? What do you think we should continue doing because we're doing it very well? This is feedback from our customers. You will hear the customer experience team put together quick hurdles for issue resolution whenever customers call into the call center, or whenever the data starts to show a certain skew in how customers are behaving. You will see or you will hear the finance person say to the customer experience team, we are onboarding a particular tool or a particular platform that helps us to process payments faster, helps us to process invoices faster, because customers are not making repeat purchases because of a painful experience. So in organizations that are truly customer first, customer focused, there will be a lot of collaboration around the customer's needs. And most of the time, that collaboration is driven by the customer experience team.
Wow. So let's say, I would love that. So say I'm a small business. I have like 5 employees, 7 employees, right? And I'm like, everybody has a very specific role, but people are doing like 5 things at the same time. So what would customer experience, because like we don't have like a customer experience person per se. So for them, it would be each person embracing what they're doing and thinking about how will this make a customer feel. So that way you have 5 customer, if your team is 5, they have their roles, but that's 5 customer experience agents basically in your organization.
Yeah, and that speaks to the design thinking methodologies, where from time to time the team needs to come together and ask themselves a couple of questions around solving for the customer. And we don't have to have our person in our title or our role, but everyone being centered on the customer is able to give their ideas and their thoughts, because essentially we are also customers to other brands. And so if we say, for example, that one of us is a persona for our brand, or better yet, get an actual customer of your business to tell you a couple of things about your business. And now that you understand that our typical customer is someone who takes up the following space, their demographics are how they live their lives, their lifestyles, their gadgets, how they behave, the cars they drive, the places they hang out, anything around their behavior, anything around their spend, anything around their social interactions is something that the organization has defined. You then begin to answer for how they experience your brand. And this can be, as rudimentary as putting up papers on a wall and sticky notes around what are these customers' fears? What are these customers' expectations? If we were to create a wish list for our ideal customer, what would that be? They would want faster, we're always solving for speed and convenience in this day and age. They would want faster responses. They would want more affordable, and even price is not becoming an issue these days, but due to the economic times, it then is. They would want more affordable solutions. So maybe as a business, we need to come up with other packages that are more affordable to our customers. And when you begin to solve for those things, you then realize that you spark a lot of centeredness on the customer and solving for the customer. And so you don't even have to tell the product person that please come up with a new product. They will say it. They will look at all the facts on the table and say, we need a new product that solves for the following things. You will hear someone in operations say, we really need to automate around that process. It's too manual. It's taking too long. Yeah. You will hear the co-founders of the business say, we need to interact with the customer more, and we need to action their feedback real time. So then whenever they tell us something, we don't need to mull over it or ask too many other questions or try to validate it through other customers. We need to find a way to get as much feedback from our customers as possible, and then make sure that we have an action engine. So after those sessions, those collaborative and design thinking sessions, where you ask all of these trigger questions and get all of the answers in the room, you will begin to solve for exactly what the customer needs.
Yeah, and that is so powerful. It's like, when you find that person who does your hair well and the experience is seamless. Like, for example, when I got my sister locked in, for this guy who has hacked the process. First of all, they are open from like 6:30 a.m. So if you're really, really busy, you can get there really early, get your things done. But what they do that's so different is you come in, like when I was getting them installed, it was 12 hours. 12 hours. I decided to sit for 12 hours. But in those 12 hours, I didn't have to do anything. So you come in, they explain the process, they give you breakfast, they give you the Wi-Fi password, they go through the process, they ask you what would you like for lunch, they give you lunch. So I was like, man, if I got this experience everywhere I went, it would be so hard to be loyal, but I don't get it anywhere else. So I'm like, this is where I'll be coming And when I get my reties, I go early in the morning, 6:30. By 7:45, 8, I'm done. And I've been given breakfast and I move. And it's very effective. So I think that would be like top of mind example that came to my mind is thinking about, honestly, like thinking of your customers as human beings. I think we forget those things as well, right? That they're human beings, and every action has a reaction. What is the reaction that you're getting out of it? I think one of the biggest things I'm hearing from you is it starts with that mind shift of, I'm not just creating a product, I'm creating a product for. I'm not just selling, I am creating value for the customer. And then thinking about how will they feel as they're engaging. So that's where if you have a tech guy who has never even seen a customer face to face, they're still thinking about them. Yeah, so I really, really like that. And everybody is a customer experience agent. Everyone from CEO to the person who is cleaning to the watchman. Wait, if watchmen also, security companies, it's across board. Every single person is a customer experience agent. So as we end, Bella, there's so many nuggets in here, but what is one thing or maybe two things that you would want people to always keep top of mind when they're thinking about customer experience?
You've already said one of them, that we should always remember our customers are human beings. And when you map out the customer's journey with that in mind, the solutions in terms of what you need to do and actualize will come to you. Number two is customer experience in itself is not running a sprint, it is running a marathon. So there's a lot that needs to go into preparing for a marathon. You need to be fit, you need to already be doing certain laps and certain exercises on a daily for a while before you run a long marathon, right? And then number two, you need to have the tools that keep you going during the marathon. And sometimes that's the cheering crowds at the side. Sometimes that's the very brief stop for some water you can pour on yourself as you continue to run. Sometimes it's the banana that you need to bite as you're still running. Sometimes it's your fellow runners, you're picking up your pace from other customer-focused organizations and individuals. But then the best thing is that you still keep your eyes on the goal and you keep going. And it's about your next best step. And I found that when I totally immersed myself into the practice of CX, there has never been a day or a time or a phase in my career that I have not sought out the next way to improve something. And so continuous improvement is part of the package. It's part of the deal. You're never really there yet. You have to just keep solving.
Yeah. Oh, that one it is not a sprint. It is, put it in a t-shirt. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. I love that because a sprint it's just quick. It's here to there, you're done. But it's a never ending journey. Oh, that's powerful. And you have to prepare for it. Marathons are run not on the day, it begins way before with all what you're talking about, the preparation, which is very, very powerful. Hey, Bella. And with that, we have come to the end of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you get really powerful nuggets in there. I'm feeling so inspired. In fact, I'm like, everybody on the team, everybody I know must listen to this podcast. And I hope it has a huge impact. Thank you to Xperex for this partnership and making this possible. Thank you, Bella, for taking your time this evening to be on this podcast and just share your thoughts, your experiences around customer experience. It has been so value adding. Yeah.
Thank you as well, Rhoda. It's been a blast.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like and share, comment, get involved. Let us know what you think, what you want to learn next, and join us next time.